Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Saya Irfan Faruqi dan ini Pantau Agenda Reformasi. Tumpuan masih diberikan kepada apa yang sudah berlaku di Amerika Syarikat susulan keputusan pilihan raya Presiden yang mana untuk Presiden ke-47 akan dinobatkan kepada Donald Trump daripada Parti Republikan, dan pastinya pelbagai reaksi dikongsikan oleh masyarakat dunia dan juga pemimpin-pemimpinnya. Tapi antara lain di peringkat Malaysia yakin bahawa Malaysia akan terus memperkukuh hubungan dengan Amerika Syarikat menerusi pengembangan pendidikan, budaya, penyelidikan dan inovasi. Menurut Menteri Pendidikan Tinggi Datuk Seri Zamri Abdul Kadir, pihaknya juga telah berbincang dengan Duta Besar Amerika Syarikat ke Malaysia, Edgar D. Kagan, untuk memperkukuhkan program pertukaran pelajar antara kedua-dua negara. Jelas beliau, program seumpama itu penting bagi memahamkan pelajar kedua-dua negara tentang negara masing-masing.
Kerana hubungan budaya dan juga hubungan pendidikan itu adalah merupakan wahana penting bagi negara-negara berkenaan, bukan hanya dalam konteks Amerika tapi mana-mana negara yang kita mempunyai hubungan diplomatik untuk saling faham, memahami di antara satu sama lain.
Beliau berkata demikian kepada wartawan selepas menghadiri dialog meja bulat Amerika Syarikat Malaysia 2024 di Ibu Negara pada Khamis. Kagan sementara itu berkata, dengan lebih daripada 1,000 rakyat Malaysia dan 2,000 rakyat Amerika, program Fulbright yang berada di bawah kelolaan Suruhanjaya Malaysia Amerika untuk pertukaran pendidikan MACEE terus menyumbang kepada pertukaran ilmu yang berkesan serta memperluas jaringan akademik antara kedua-dua negara.
They have played extraordinary roles in both countries and have really furthered understanding not just of our respective countries, but also there's incredibly successful, brilliant researchers who have taken part in these exchanges, and I think it's been critical to their development.
Program itu juga menyaksikan sesi menandatangani memorandum persefahaman MOU yang berlangsung antara 13 universiti awam dan swasta Malaysia untuk kohort kedua tahun 2024. Ia mencerminkan komitmen MACEE dalam memperkukuh hubungan pendidikan yang berasaskan nilai strategik jangka panjang dan memberi manfaat langsung kepada generasi muda. Gagal memisahkan diri daripada polisi-polisi pentadbiran Presiden Joe Biden yang dilihat tidak seiring dengan kehendak majoriti rakyat menjadi antara punca Kamala Harris kalah dalam pemilihan Presiden Amerika Syarikat. Ini kenyataan daripada Profesor di Jeffrey Chia Institute of Southeast Asia Sunway University, Profesor Dr. Shakila Yaakob, yang mengatakan bahawa hubungannya dengan pentadbiran melemahkan sokongan terhadapnya kerana sokongan kena ramai pengundi mengharapkan calon yang boleh membawa reformasi atau sekurang-kurangnya mengkritik polisi sedia ada.
Agak memeranjatkan beliau kalah, ya, kerana the government machinery is with her, the establishment is with her, dan kita kena ingat juga dia juga seolah-olah macam incumbent jugalah kan sebagai vice president semasa pentadbiran Biden, so selalunya penyandang ada banyak advantages kan, tapi beliau gagal mempergunakan kesempatan ini, ya. Satu yang pertama, saya nak katakan di sini ialah Kamala kalah terutamanya ke atas pendiriannya yang tidak tegas terhadap Israel dan genosid yang berlaku di Gaza, dan beliau tidak mampu mengasingkan dirinya daripada polisi-polisi pentadbiran Biden yang sangat tidak popular.
Kekalahan Kamala Harris turut menggambarkan Amerika Syarikat masih belum bersedia dari segi perwakilan wanita dalam kepimpinan tinggi. Menurut sejarah, katanya pindaan ke-19 Perlembagaan Amerika pada tahun 1920 hanya membenarkan wanita kulit putih untuk mengundi. Manakala wanita kulit hitam terpaksa menunggu sehingga Akta Hak Mengundi 1965 untuk memperoleh hak yang sama. Diskriminasi ini menunjukkan bagaimana proses memperjuangkan hak wanita berbeza mengikut etnik, menjadikan ia perjuangan yang panjang dan mencabar bagi sesetengah golongan wanita. Kata Dr. Shakila Yaakob, walaupun terdapat peningkatan dalam pendidikan dan peluang pekerjaan bagi wanita, masalah representasi masih kekal, khususnya dalam sektor korporat dan politik di Amerika Syarikat. Selain itu, Harris dilihat kurang berinteraksi dengan segmen populasi penting seperti Muslim Amerika, terutamanya di negeri penentu seperti Michigan.
Dan ini pula reaksi pemimpin dunia terhadap kejayaan Trump memenangi pilihan raya kali ini, yang mana antara lain Presiden China Xi Jinping pada Khamis menyampaikan ucapan tahniah kepada Donald Trump atas pemilihannya sebagai Presiden Amerika Syarikat. Xi menggesa kedua-dua negara mencari jalan yang tepat untuk bekerjasama dalam era baharu ini supaya memberi manfaat kepada kedua-dua negara dan dunia secara keseluruhan. Beliau berkata sejarah mengajar bahawa China dan Amerika Syarikat mendapat manfaat daripada kerjasama dan kerugian daripada konfrontasi. Menurut beliau, hubungan China-Amerika yang stabil, kukuh dan mampat memenuhi kepentingan bersama kedua-dua negara dan memenuhi aspirasi masyarakat antarabangsa. Beliau menyatakan harapan agar kedua-dua pihak dapat berpegang kepada prinsip saling menghormati, hidup bersama secara aman dan kerjasama menang-menang, memperkukuh dialog dan komunikasi, menguruskan perbezaan dengan baik dan memperluas kerjasama yang saling menguntungkan. Persaingan ekonomi dan geopolitik antara dua kuasa besar tersebut memuncak sepanjang tahun 2024 susulan Perang Israel di Asia Barat, Perang Rusia-Ukraine, provokasi China di Laut Cina Selatan dan persaingan dalam sektor kenderaan EV. Di Amerika Syarikat, calon Republikan Donald Trump telah menerima jemputan Presiden Amerika Syarikat Joe Biden ke White House. Menurut pasukan kempen Trump pada Rabu, jemputan tersebut sebagai simbolik kepada komitmen Biden untuk memastikan peralihan kuasa yang lancar. Jurucakap kempen Trump, Stephen Chung, berkata Biden menghubungi Trump untuk mengucapkan tahniah atas kemenangannya. Trump bersedia untuk penggal kedua yang bersejarah sebagai Presiden Amerika selepas menewaskan calon Demokrat Kamala Harris dalam pemilihan yang menyaksikan Trump memperoleh 295 undi elektoral. Menurut Chang, Trump menantikan pertemuan itu yang akan diadakan dalam masa terdekat dan sangat menghargai panggilan seterunya dalam pemilihan presiden pada tahun 2020 yang lalu. Trump tewas dalam pilihan raya presiden 2020 kepada Biden. Sehingga hari ini, beliau enggan mengakui kekalahan itu. Trump akhirnya memecahkan tradisi apabila tidak hadir dalam upacara angkat sumpah Biden. Afghanistan berharap Amerika Syarikat akan mengamalkan dasar yang pragmatik di bawah pentadbiran Donald Trump. Sebagai reaksi terhadap kemenangan Trump dalam pemilihan presiden pada Rabu, Kementerian Luar Afghanistan berharap Amerika akan memastikan kemajuan ketara dalam hubungan dua hala, membolehkan kedua-dua negara membuka lembaran baharu. Tambah kenyataan itu, Trump diharap akan memainkan peranan dalam menamatkan konflik semasa di rantau berkenaan dan di seluruh dunia, terutamanya kekejaman dan pencerobohan yang berterusan di Gaza dan Lebanon. Afghanistan juga menegaskan bahawa perjanjian damai Doha yang bertujuan menamatkan perang selama 2 dekad di Afghanistan ditandatangani semasa penggal pertama Trump sebagai presiden. Kementerian Luar Afghanistan mengimbas kembali bahawa perjanjian Doha antara Emirat Islam Afghanistan dan pentadbiran Trump pada Februari 2020 telah menamatkan pendudukan asing selama 21 tahun di Afghanistan. Tentera Amerika dan tentera asing berundur dari Afghanistan pada Ogos 2021 ketika tentera Taliban mara ke ibu kota Kabul.
And powerful mandate, we have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good. And the Senate races in Montana.
Untuk waktu ini, kita akan berehat seketika kembali selepas ini untuk kita mengupas lebih lanjut berkenaan dengan pentadbiran baharu dunia yang mungkin diterajui oleh Presiden Trump sebagai Presiden terpilih bersama dengan Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Chartered Management Institute. Kita berehat seketika kembali selepas ini. Baik, kembali di waktu ini untuk Pantau Agenda Reformasi. Sebelum kita meneruskan diskusi di petang ini satu lagi perkembangan yang berkaitan dengan pilihan raya di Amerika Syarikat, yang mana Korea Selatan tidak menolak kemungkinan membantu Ukraine dalam perang di Rusia dengan menghantar bekalan senjata. Presiden Republik itu, Yoon Suk Yeol, berkata tindakan itu sebagai reaksi kepada tentera Korea Utara yang digerakkan untuk menyertai angkatan tentera Rusia di barisan hadapan.
인도주의, 평화주의 관점에 지원해서 이제는 좀 북한군의 관여 정도에 따라서 단계별로 우리가 좀 지원 방식을 좀 바꿔나간다. 그래서 무기 지원이라는 것도 배제하지 않는다라고 하는 것이고요. 앞으로 그건 좀 상황을 더 봐야 될 것 같습니다. 만약에 무기 지원을 하면 저희는 어찌됐든 방어 무기부터 우선적으로 고려하고 있습니다.
Yun memaklumkan telah bercakap dengan Presiden terpilih Donald Trump menerusi telefon mengenai isu-isu berbangkit di semenanjung Korea, termasuk provokasi peluru berpandu Korea Utara dan insiden belon sampah yang masuk ke dalam sempadannya. Kedua-dua pemimpin dijangka bertemu dalam masa terdekat. Untuk rekod, Trump merupakan Presiden Amerika Syarikat pertama yang membina hubungan baik dengan Korea Utara dan pemimpin utamanya Kim Jong-un.
Untuk bercakap lanjut berkenaan dengan impak pilihan raya di Amerika Syarikat dan kepada perniagaan dan perdagangan dunia secara lebih menyeluruh, kita akan menyambung Pantau Agenda Reformasi ini dalam bahasa Inggeris dengan izin. Dan untuk itu, we would like to welcome Francke, the Chief Executive of Chartered Management Institute, together with us this evening. Thank you so much, Anne, for your time. And I would like to start right away with how does the global business reaction towards President-elect Trump being elected as the next president of the United States? Because even though we see in stock market, the stock market's rally up, it's green all the way in the last 24 hours. But then the question is about how does business community accept this result and how it will turns out in the next few months. And
yes, well, thank you, Eric. And I think there are many lessons that we can learn about leadership in today's world from the results of the U.S. election. And you're absolutely right. The short-term reaction has been positive. The markets have responded well. But of course, it's about what happens in the medium and long term. And there, the result is a lot more uncertain. And of course, there are some lessons that we can learn about leadership in an uncertain world from these results. I think the first is that people are first and foremost turning inward. In many developed economies, their concern is about what about me? You know, am I valued? Is this making a difference for me? And in the American result, what it really reflected is how that manifests. It's, do I feel economically better off? And once again, the economic agenda did dominate those election results. And of course, what this also means is that for the rest of the world, that the fact that America will focus on its own domestic agenda to a greater extent, and that has been manifested across the board, the rest of the world will face in the medium and longer term greater uncertainty. Because it does mean that there will be a perhaps shifting role for America in the world order.
What kind of shifting role you see America will play in terms of cooperation, in terms of trade and business and multilateralism? Because some of our experts that we have been talking to, they said that President-elect Trump's style in terms of doing business is more on direct negotiation. He is not a big fan of multilateralism, so it does raise a types of concern in order for us to have a more serious collaboration and cooperation with the United States. On that point, what is your view?
Well, I think the point about multiculturalism is a fair reflection. Obviously, if you're going to focus more on your domestic agenda, you're going to put less time and effort into developing multilateral international collaborations. And I think President-elect Trump has been quite clear that he intends to do that. And really, what it means for everyone else is exactly as I said at the outset, it's greater uncertainty. And actually, we all need as leaders to be able to cope with greater uncertainty, more volatility. And I think that that will be one of the impacts that we will face. Now, what does that mean? Well, actually, it does indeed mean that we have to also think more carefully about our own agendas and their impacts. And, you know, leaders need to do this as well. What can I do to develop myself rather than perhaps relying on somebody else, whether that somebody else is an individual or indeed a country, to do it for me. So in that sense, it will present some challenges. And again, leaders need to adapt to those changing circumstances and perhaps be more agile.
Building up on that, let's focus on ASEAN, Southeast Asia. For the past 12 months, at least, there is a lot of push to ensure that there is more cooperation between this particular region with other great economy and developed economy. But as you said, during these uncertain times, what kind of strategy should nations in Southeast Asia employ in the medium and the long term to ensure that the prosperity can be shared and does not directly affect it negatively from whatever happened outside from this region, Anne?
Yes, well, that's an excellent question. And I think that it's a lesson in self-reliance and in resilience in many ways. And if we take a look, for example, at the recent Malaysian budget, we see that there's quite a lot of emphasis on self-development for Malaysia, developing greater leadership capability, for example, developing greater participation economically in the economy, and developing and upskilling managers in new developments such as artificial intelligence and other things. And of course, that emphasis on ever-continuing education. And I think those are all positive manifestations of greater self-reliance and greater self-development. And that's actually one of the leadership lessons that is an outcome that more countries will need to learn as a result of the recent election in the United States.
Then, looking at Malaysia in particular, what kind of, again, in terms of strategy that we need to employ, is it Malaysia should come out with a more strong personality and demanding in terms of let's work together, let's bring up all this big project of green economy, energy transition, and so on? Or should we take some time to have more dialogue so that we can incorporate more country into this effort? Because as we know, we can divide the global economy into at least two big faction and bloc, so the Western side, and then there's BRICS right now. So again, when we're looking at Southeast Asia in terms of strategy that we need to use, cooperation and dialogue, which might need more time, and to show stronger personality, which may be a bit upfront, but that's the cost to ensure that we have a fast result. Anne?
Well, I think actually, Irfan, you need to do both. So I mentioned some of the measures in the budget that were aimed at focusing on greater Malaysian self-development and upskilling. But at the same time, dialogue and collaboration is important. For example, the United Kingdom and Malaysia, the United Kingdom will soon join the ASEAN countries in a multilateral trade agreement, and that will create many new opportunities. So I think it's a measure of both, and this is getting at that agility point in leadership that I think in today's world is so important. So you need to both strengthen your own position and at the same time look for new dialogues and collaborations to find other entities to work together to achieve a greater result.
And other than that, it's not just the working relationship and trade relationship between Malaysia and EU, for example, which talk about FTA has been resumed, but also next year, ASEAN GCC will convene, in which will be joined also by China. So again, if we're talking about uncertain time, what does the focus should our leaders give during all of these talks, EU FTA, ASEAN GCC, in which this is actually a very good platform for leaders from different ideological lines to meet together and, as you said just now, so that we can improve in terms of our cooperation.
Yes, well, I think that all of those things are possible developments. And of course, trade has always been a factor that strengthens collaboration between countries. And I think it will remain a very important factor. So I think it is absolutely right that many different avenues of collaboration are explored. And one can't be reliant too much on any one actor. This is another leadership lesson about resilience and self-reliance. So the wise thing to do is to cultivate a number of different opportunities. So again, you can remain agile and have a number of different options. And I think that would be the best course.
Mm-hmm. So in order for us to bring forward a certain agenda, it cannot be only one actor. And one of the something that raises concern is about the agenda for sustainability and green agenda, in which some of President-elect Donald Trump's statement, he said that Paris Agreement is something that America will decide to pull out because for his based on his own reason. But then again, yes, agenda for green technology and sustainability is something that must be carried by all nations together. But without the participation of America, will that hamper any efforts in order for us to reach that goal?
Well, I can't predict the future, so I can't really comment precisely on this. But what I would say is that green energy is becoming a very important big business. And there are many, many wealthy people involved in that. An example, an obvious one I would cite is, of course, one of the biggest supporters of Donald Trump was Elon Musk. He owns a very large electric car company. So he also has an interest in the green economy developing. And so do many other extremely wealthy individuals. So I think the green agenda is also an economic agenda, and it will continue to attract economic interest from a number of different players around the world. Never mind the fact that many people view it as a necessity for the sustainability of the planet. So there's always more than one lens through which we can look at the green agenda. And I think perhaps increasingly it will be looked at through that economic lens.
And I want also to take this opportunity to address young managers, small businesses, young entrepreneurs. What are the lessons that they can take from either from this election, also what lesson that they can take by looking at the general global geopolitics and scenario that we're having today? What should they do now in order for them to be more competitive next year?
Well, one of the basic and fundamental things, and obviously CMI, the Chartered Management Institute, this is our mission. I would advise all young managers and leaders to invest in their own managerial development. Now, CMI's research shows that an astounding 82% of managers promoted into their first managerial roles receive no training in management and leadership. And that is something that we do need to correct. So my message to young managers and leaders and entrepreneurs is invest in yourself and work for an employer who will invest in you and develop those management and leadership skills that will enable you to thrive in your career and make those considered agile decisions, communicate well, and be able to build the necessary relationships that will indeed result in you having a far greater success, not only individually, but also for your organization and for your society.
Thank you so much, Chief Executive of Chartered Management Institute, and Francke, joining us today. this evening. Thank you so much, Anne, for your perspective. I believe the conclusion is that we need to increase in terms of our cooperation, and for young leaders, more training for us to face the uncertainty, especially what we'll face in the next year. Thank you so much, Anne. Dan itu sahaja kupasan untuk waktu ini dalam Pantau Agenda Reformasi melihat pilihan raya Presiden Amerika Syarikat dalam konteks dunia yang tidak menentu. Saya Irfan Faruqi. Salam hormat.